Boom. You hit a button, and it happens in an absolute instant. But the invisible infrastructure powering our daily digital lives? Man, it is incredibly complex. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the exact technical details that make it all work. I'm your host, and I am super excited to guide you through this. We're not just talking abstract concepts here. We're going to break down the actual, literal mechanics of the digital world right in front of you. Okay, think about it. What really happens in those milliseconds after you hit enter? Have you ever wondered how typing a simple string of text instantly summons a web page from halfway across the globe? Honestly, it feels like magic, right? You hit enter and bam, in milliseconds, a complete, highly structured visual document just appears on your screen. But spoiler alert, it isn't magic. It's this incredibly complex, lightning-fast relay race of data, protocols, and hardware. And that relay race is exactly what we're decoding today. So, to really understand this journey, we're going to cover 5 steps today. 1. The internet versus the World Wide Web. 2. The anatomy of a URL. 3. Browsers and HTML explained. 4. The domain name system. And finally, 5. Understanding web cookies. Let's get into it. Section 1. The internet versus the World Wide Web. First up, let's dismantle a very, very common misconception. Look, you hear people use these terms interchangeably all the time, right? But they are absolutely not the same thing. The internet is the physical infrastructure. It's the worldwide collection of interconnected networks, servers, and routers running on TCP and IP protocols. It's the literal foundation for things like your emails and chats. Now, the World Wide Web? That's just one specific way to access information on that physical infrastructure. It's a massive collection of multimedia web pages accessed via browsers, and it relies heavily on HTTP and HTML. A good way to picture it? Think of the internet as the physical roads, and the World Wide Web's pages? Those are the delivery trucks driving on those roads. Section 2. The anatomy of a URL. So, if the web is the delivery truck, how exactly do we give it an address? A URL is definitely not just a random string of letters. It's actually a highly structured text address that tells your browser exactly where to go. And it breaks down into very specific parts. First up, you've got the protocol, usually HTTP or HTTPS. Then comes the domain host, typically www. Right after that is the domain name, the actual name of the website, followed by the domain type, like .com or .org. Sometimes you'll even see a country code attached, like .uk or .de. And finally, you might have a specific path or file name at the very end. So really, it's a super precise set of directions guiding your device through the network. Now this is crucial. When you see HTTPS with that S at the end of the protocol, you know exactly what kind of connection you're making. That S literally stands for secure. It means the data transfer across the network is being protected by Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, or Transport Layer Security, TLS. In most modern browsers, you'll actually see a little green padlock icon right up in the address bar, confirming this. It just means any data you send or receive is encrypted, totally safe from eavesdroppers. Section 3. Browsers and HTML explained. Let's talk about the real hero of our journey, the web browser. The moment you request a URL, this incredible piece of software steps in. Your web browser retrieves raw code from a web server and completely translates it into the visual, interactive content we consume every single day. I'm talking multiple tabs for multitasking, your bookmarks, the address bar you use to steer, the whole shebang. But what exactly is the browser translating? Well, specifically, it interprets HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. Now, actually, let me clarify something real quick. HTML isn't really a programming language, it's a markup language. Its main job is just to structure and format the text, images, and videos sitting on the website server so they display correctly and beautifully on your specific device. It's basically telling the browser, hey, make this a heading, put this image right here, and maybe color this text blue. Section 4, the domain name system, or DNS. So how does the browser even know where to go to get that HTML in the first place? See, computers only understand numbers, not text. So when you type in a URL, your browser first asks a domain name server for the corresponding IP address. If that first server doesn't have the IP address saved in its database, it just asks a second one. Once it finds the matching IP, that number gets sent all the way back to your computer. That is what allows your browser to actually connect directly to the website server and grab the HTML. The best way to think about DNS, it's like the internet's invisible switchboard. It completely eliminates the need for us to memorize a bunch of complex numerical addresses. It seamlessly translates a human-friendly URL like, say, hottereducation.co.uk into a machine-readable IP address like 107.162.140.19. Without this switchboard, browsing the web would literally be like trying to navigate a huge, sprawling city using only geographic coordinates instead of just reading the street names. No thank you.
Section 5. Understanding web cookies. All right, the page is loaded, you're interacting with it, but what gets left behind?
This brings us to cookies, and there are two main types you really need to be aware of. First, session cookies. These are stored only in temporary memory and are completely wiped the exact moment you close your browser. They generally don't hold any personal info. Persistent cookies, on the other hand, well, they actually live on your computer's hard drive until they hit their expiry date or you manually delete them. These are the ones that remember your login details so you don't have to type them in every single time. They save your virtual shopping cart, and yep, for sure, they track your surfing habits across multiple sessions. Because at their core, cookies are there to allow user tracking and maintain user preferences. Think of them as essentially small lookup tables of key and data values. For example, pairing the category language with the value English. They let websites remember you, which drastically customizes your online experience. Like if you buy a sci-fi book online, a cookie remembers that preference and suggests similar books the next time you visit. It's incredibly convenient because it removes the need for massive data storage on the web server itself. But it also means a highly detailed profile of your browsing behavior is constantly being compiled. And that brings us to the end of our journey today. We've traveled from the physical infrastructure of the internet straight through the structured syntax of URLs and HTML, navigated via the DNS switchboard, all the way to those persistent cookies hanging out on your hard drive. So the next time you hit enter and load up your favorite online store in a fraction of a second, I really want you to ask yourself, based on everything we just uncovered today, what exactly is your digital footprint leaving behind? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, guys, and keep questioning the technology you use every single day. See you next time.